In order to apply dimensioning, a number of factors need to be taken into account. You need to have your dimension style set appropriately. I've got one called Burnley 1 to 100. If I look under text, you can see I've set text height. Under units, I've set the precision to be 0, and I've made some changes to geometry and so on. So we have a dimension style that will work for us, and we'll make sure that it is set current. The next thing is to make sure that a dimension layer is set as current. So that's been done. Now we want to make sure that this dimension toolbar is active. If it's not, right click here and select dimension. You can see it's disappeared. Right click, turn dimension on, and I'll float the dimension toolbar onto the screen. Now if I want to apply dimensioning across the bottom, it's just a matter of picking dimension, come over here and snap to that point there, select end point and snap to that point there, and then move down the dimensions in position. You can change it. It's one entity. You can move things around like so. If you wanted to alter the offset, you could just pick there and drag back, pick there and drag back, and we'll unselect those. We could come over here and look at these dimensions, and they ought to be lined up a little better. That one's in about the midpoint of there. This one I think could come across here, and that one seems to be in the midpoint. Some people would prefer to line all the dimensions up in that way, although you clearly can't do it in this one. Try not to cross dimension lines and try not to cross important information. These dimensions here, because we have a very fluid looking design, are not going to be precise. 1570 would be enough there. 2050 would be enough, but you can see the shapes are really somewhat organic, so these dimensions are not going to be exact. And what we've done in the layout sheet, if you move in down in here, we put here dimensions, platforms approximately only, so any dimensions being applied to those platforms there, 2, 3, 1, 4 and so on, are taken as being only approximate. So I hope that gives you some idea of the way in which you apply dimensions. What I have done and neglected to mention is that I put all my planting symbols in this zone here on their own layer and was able to turn that layer off. So after I finished my dimensioning and printed a PDF version of it, I would then go back to my symbols and turn my symbols on, and likewise turn my dimension layer off, so they disappear, and we're back to where we are. Clearly these hadn't been moved to the correct layer, so now I can move those onto layer dimensions and they should disappear, and they do. So I hope that gives you a good idea of how to apply dimensions. Whoops, I've missed a couple over here, so I can fix those up in exactly the same way onto a layer dimensions there. And that completes at least one dimension sheet showing the plan view in its dimensions, and that'll be used by the construction team.